Story 1. It was great weather this morning, and I decided to take my mutt to the dog park. This park is typical of others. It's fenced and has a plastic bag dispenser at both gates so dog parents can clean up after their pets. The back gate leads to a greenway walking trail. A woman walked into the park ahead of me with her dog. I followed behind and got a bag because I knew my girl was going to make a mess within minutes of sniffing around. And she did. So did the lady's dog. I dutifully bagged the poop, and as I was walking toward the trash can, I noticed the lady walking toward the back gate with her dog. She exited the park and disappeared down the trail, leaving behind an epic mound of what appeared to be half-digested pizza with lots of anchovies. I dislike people who don't bother cleaning up after their dogs. Cue the petty side of my soul. I got another bag and cleaned up after her dog. I then let my dog play and waited for her to return. I was going to hand the bag to her along with some choice commentary. But when it was time for me to go, she had not yet returned. No problem, she had parked right beside me. I had intended to dump her dog's poop on the hood of her car, but to my gleeful surprise, she'd left one of her back windows down. I didn't dump the poop inside her car. I'm not that mean. However, I casually opened her back door and stuck the bag under her seat before leaving the scene with a big grin. It is now a sunny 85 degrees here. I hope the smell inside her car is unbearable. Story 2. Backstory for context. I had just left the hospital about a week ago due to severe pain behind my knee. It was so bad that I couldn't sit, stand fully upright, walk, lay down, nor bend or fully straighten my leg. It came out of nowhere and got progressively worse every day until I ended up bedridden for 2 weeks. Although the summer heat is coming to an end where I live, I drank plenty of cold water to the point where I'd have to get up every hour to use the bathroom throughout the day. The pain was so bad that I would lose the urge and just lay in bed all day, not even wanting to get up to eat or use the restroom because it was so bad and sensitive to the touch that any movement would make me wince. Doctors were baffled, so there was a CT scan and an MRI done, as well as bringing in an oncologist because I had a large mass of fat behind my leg, a tumor about the size of a football. Hearing oncologist almost brought me to tears as I feared the worst. It turned out what I thought was a severe cramp was actually torn tendons and ligaments in my leg. I hadn't fallen or hit my leg against anything, which confused everyone, and the large mass was just a fatty tumor. Nothing too serious according to the doctors and surgeon. No operation was done. It's not cancerous, and I was told in a few weeks the swelling would go down and my leg should heal naturally. I've been using a walker since discharge, and just recently the pain is much more tolerable that I no longer need it. But still use a walking cane because there's still a chance I could fall, and I won't risk it. Now that that's out of the way, on to the story. I've been given a strong painkiller upon discharge, but only for 3 days as it's pretty strong and one could possibly get addicted. So I've been taking Tylenol after my meds ran out as it's the strongest over-the-counter medicine I could get. I have to keep my leg either very still while laying down or constantly moving it, that is, walking as it hurts if I stand still for too long. This incident happened 2 days ago. Instead of sitting at home doing leg exercises in bed and waiting for my dad to bring me pain meds, I decided to go with him to keep myself moving, hoping it would help me, plus spend more quality time with him. We've had an on and off bumpy relationship. So we headed to the pharmacy, and once we were there, I decided I also wanted some snacks. I informed my dad about this, and so he didn't have to slowly follow me around. I suggested he go out to get some quick groceries at the supermarket across the street. He agreed, and we went our separate ways for a while. I went around with a basket, picked my stuff up along with pain meds, taking my time, then headed to the counter up front. This is where the entitled dad and his son come into play. The son was quiet the entire time and didn't say a word. As I was standing in line, I put my basket down next to me and held onto my cane. As mentioned before, it hurts to stay standing still for too long, and my hands started to wobble a bit as I struggled. The entitled dad was behind me in line and made a snide remark about me struggling to stand, saying how I should quit being a drama queen. You can wait. I turned to him and glared for a few seconds before replying. I have a bad leg, I can't stand for too long, in a deep, irritated tone before turning away. As I did, this man had the nerve to walk over, pick up my basket, and start rummaging through my items. I turned and demanded loudly, "Put down my basket now," to ensure I grabbed other people's attention. He scoffed and handed it to his son, who was about maybe 6 years old and carrying their own basket, and kept rummaging, picking out and commenting on my snacks and getting to my pain meds. "What are you, some sort of junkie? What's with all the painkillers? You're getting off on these, aren't you?" There were only 3 other people in line who were either starting or trying not to get involved. I ignored his question and asked for my basket back. This angered the entitled dad, and he asked again in a much louder voice, "You're getting off on these, aren't you?" as he threw the stuff back into the basket. I was almost up to the counter next, but I walked a bit closer as my leg was now starting to feel a bit stiff, and asked once again for my basket. The entitled dad shouted, "Fine." And as I held my hand out to grab it, he, instead of handing it to me, threw it forward towards me. I'm only 5'7", and this man was about 6 foot something, a pretty tall guy, and threw it at chest height as if tossing a basketball. So basically, he tossed it at my head. I put my hands up not to catch it, but to block it from hitting me in the face. As soon as it hit me, I was knocked backward, stumbling with my leg in pain from the sudden movement as I tried to catch my balance or grab onto something, anything, so I wouldn't hit the floor. If I had fallen against the counter, it would have been much better, as I'd still be standing, but I fell straight on my butt and onto my back. The rope around my wrist from my cane, coupled with the momentum, made the cane spin back, and I landed on it with my right arm. I can't tell you how much I screamed and cried in agony as I fell and lay there trying to move my body to my right side. I can't even sit down normally without pain, and have to lean most of my body to the right whenever I sit down on the toilet seat, at the dinner table, or even sitting upright on my soft mattress. Any weight or pressure on my leg makes it hurt and is uncomfortable and gives me backaches. So landing hard straight down was absolute misery. The other customers, as well as the cashier and store manager, started shouting at the guy while trying to help me up. I declined, wanting to stay on the floor as it'd be much better than if I was sitting or standing, and demanded loudly for the police to be called and to not let the man go, as I was sure as heck going to be pressing charges. The entitled dad doubled down and shouted back at everyone else, "I mean, look at him. He's exaggerating. He's not hurt. Look at all these pain meds. Walk to my basket and take out my stuff he's buying. He's probably getting high off of these. No one person needs this many Tylenol. He's an addict. He doesn't even need this." He proceeded to kick my cane away, but the strap was still around my wrist. "It's all fake. It's an act." As he finished his speech, his voice started to shake, as I'm guessing he realized he wasn't going to win this one. He grabbed his son's hand, put his basket down, and tried to speed walk out of the store, muttering something along the lines of, "Come on, we don't need this. We'll go to another store." But one customer blocked his path, as well as the manager, who was already on the phone with the dispatcher and saying officers were on their way. Upon hearing this, the entitled dad bolted, dragging his kid along and shoving the customer blocking his path into the metal detector near the entrance. The entitled dad stumbled as a woman with her child in a stroller started to walk in. He was dancing left to right, trying to get past the woman, who was now just standing there confused as to what was happening. The shoved customer got back on his feet, ran up to the entitled dad, spun him around 180 degrees, and tackled him to the floor, keeping him pinned. Fast forward to my dad coming back and asking what happened. I explained, as well as the other customers and manager. Police arrived after a while, and everyone started to explain what happened. A statement was given, charges were pressed, and the entitled dad was taken in cuffs to the back seat of a police car. His son stayed behind and would be picked up by his aunt. The only thing he said was, "I'm sorry," before we left. Story 3. So, to start off, I've been to a good number of concerts. I am well aware of how they work, and they are first come, first serve when it comes to standing spots. If you move, you lose, and you are allowed to push through the crowd. But I'm sure everyone knows that at a certain point, you are the jerk if you continue to push into a small space when you come hours late and just use force to get where you want. That's where I feel like I'm somewhat justified. I was at the very last Warped Tour. I had bought my tickets the moment they were released, and I had prepped and scheduled my day so that I could see every band that I wanted to, since this was the last big tour. I was so excited and made a list of the bands I wanted to see and timed how long I could be there before moving on to the next band. My one goal that day was to see Falling in Reverse. I had never seen them live, and I was so hyped to see them. I went with my best friend, and we had a blast for the majority of the day. I was keeping an eye on the clock and timed it perfectly to be at the stage where they were supposed to play before the previous band ended. This was so that once those fans left, I could have the first pick of the spots. My plan worked perfectly, and my best friend and I were literally two people behind the stage. It was an amazing spot right in the middle. I held my friend's hand and told her to be prepared for people to push. But we needed to stand our ground. After a bit, that was true, but we stayed in that spot, and after everyone settled in, we thought we were safe. The band came out, things started to get lively, and it was awesome. Cue rude girl RG and her friends. One song in, and RG pushed between me and my friend and got in front. I was annoyed, but whatever, it happens. She then turned around and waved to someone behind us. Then one by one, more than 7 girls wearing matching white shorts began to literally shove us to the side and push us back row by row. After the 4th girl, I was fuming. They were late and were being so rough and so inconsiderate. After the 5th one, I put my arm in front of the continually growing pile of girls and said, "Hey, there's not enough room. Don't be rude." RG scoffed and slapped my hand away. "Too bad. If you can't take it, do something about it," she said. And then all her friends turned to us and started to prepare to fight. I was completely aware this was a losing game. I'd get pummeled, so I just rolled my eyes and stayed quiet. They laughed among themselves before turning around, allowing 3 more girls to shove us to the side and get in front. To say the least, I was fuming. So I did the next best thing I could do. I had come with a small bag with stuff to get signatures, so I pulled out my black permanent marker. And I'm sure the concert goers among us know that when a song comes on, most will jump and bump into each other. I think they know where this is going. Well, for the whole concert, I went wild with those songs, bumping into them and jamming to the songs with my permanent marker uncapped, marking up each of their white shorts. I didn't feel satisfied until I went down along the line and put my beauty marks on all 8 of them. Once the band finished up, I grabbed my best friend's hand and dragged her out of there before they noticed. Later on, hours later as Warped Tour was ending, I saw the group of them. 2 or 3 were wearing different pants, but the rest had on those white shorts with my very visible artistic touches, with 2 of them covering it with sweaters wrapped around their waists.